It was 5:02 a.m. when the knocking started. Not loud, just steady. 3 soft taps, pause, then 3 more, like someone rehearsed the rhythm of my fear. My phone screen glowed on the nightstand, 5:02 exactly, and for a moment I thought it was just another nightmare. The kind where you wake up sweating, half convinced the shadows are breathing. But then it came again. 3 taps, same rhythm. And this time a man's voice, low, almost breaking. "Madison Hale, please, open up. It's me." My name is Madison Hale, 29, freelance graphic designer, night owl by profession, insomniac by curse. I lived alone in a quiet suburb outside Portland, the kind of neighborhood where mailboxes still shine and neighbors wave just enough to seem polite. No one should have known my name at that hour. I sat up, heart drumming against my ribs. The man outside sounded desperate, but not dangerous. Desperation and danger have different weights. Desperation trembles, danger waits. I slid out of bed and padded to the window. The porch light flickered on by motion sensor, and there he was. A man in a gray hoodie, rain dripping from his hair, eyes darting up and down the street. He looked around 40, maybe younger, carrying something under his arm, a leather folder. "Madison, please, your father sent me." My breath caught. My father. Except my father had been dead for 12 years. I opened the door chain first, just a crack. "Who are you?" I whispered. "Ethan Cross," he said. "Your father worked with me, we don't have much time." The air smelled like rain and rust, my stomach twisted. "My father was an accountant," I said. "That's what he wanted you to believe." He reached into the folder and pulled out a photo, my father, standing beside the same man, both wearing badges that read Department of Energy, except the photo wasn't old. The timestamp in the corner said March 14, 2025, 3 months ago. My mind split open like static. That's impossible. He died in a car crash. He didn't, and now they know you're his daughter. For a second, the world outside my door vanished. All I could hear was the hum of the fridge, the drip of the gutter, and the racing of my own pulse. I wanted to slam the door, to scream at him, to go back to pretending my life was normal, client calls, half-finished coffee, playlists that loop too long. But when someone says, "They know who you are," something primal wakes up in you, a kind of inherited fear you can't unlearn. I unhooked the chain. "Talk." He stepped inside, dripping water on the floorboards. His hands shook as he opened the folder, papers, photos, coded maps, all stamped with a seal I didn't recognize. "Your father worked under an alias. He uncovered something he shouldn't have. Before he disappeared, he left me instructions. If anything happened to him, find you, tell you the truth." "The truth about what?" "About you." Lightning flashed. For half a second, the whole room turned white. And in that flash, through the window, I swore I saw a silhouette across the street, someone watching. Ethan followed my gaze, his jaw clenched. "They're already here." He grabbed my hand, led me to the back door. "We can't stay." "Wait, I don't even know what's happening." "You will, but only if we make it to the car." We ran through the rain, barefoot, half awake, adrenaline replacing oxygen. His black SUV waited at the corner, engine running, headlights off. The moment I got inside, I noticed it, a small envelope on the dashboard. My name handwritten in my father's script. My throat went dry. I tore it open. Inside was a single flash drive and a note. "Maddie, if you're reading this, you were never meant to live a normal life. I'm sorry." Rain hammered the windshield like 1,000 questions at once. Ethan shifted into gear. "They'll trace us if we don't move." In that instant, I realized how fragile reality is, how easily a single sentence can rearrange your whole existence. All my life, I'd built walls of logic, of routine. Now every brick was falling apart. Who was I really? Why would my father lie for nearly 3 decades? And most of all, what did he mean by "you were never meant to live a normal life"? We drove for hours, through mountain roads slick with rain. By dawn, the city was a memory behind fog. Ethan pulled into a small cabin tucked deep between pines. It looked abandoned until motion lights flickered on automatically. He led me inside. Maps lined the walls, computers hummed. Files marked with dates and codes covered a metal table. "This is where your father worked the last 2 years," he said quietly. "Everything he left behind is here." I walked to the table. There were pictures of people I didn't know, aerial shots of remote facilities, and one photo of me leaving my office 3 weeks ago. The timestamp again, April 10, 2025. Why is there a surveillance photo of me? "Because, Madison," Ethan hesitated, "you're the reason he was being hunted." For a second, I just stood there, staring at Ethan like his words hadn't fully landed yet. The reason he was being hunted? That made no sense. I was no one. A freelancer who spent most of her life behind a laptop screen. A woman who watered her plants, ordered takeout, and fell asleep to the sound of documentaries. Nothing about me screamed danger or conspiracy. Ethan must have read the disbelief in my eyes because he sighed and sat down at the edge of the table. "Your father wasn't protecting himself," he said. "He was protecting you. Everything he did, disappearing, faking his death, changing his name, it was all to keep you off their radar." I looked down at the flash drive in my hand, the one that carried my father's final message. "What's on this?" I asked quietly. He hesitated. "If you plug that in, there's no going back. Once it's accessed, they'll know exactly where we are." Something in his tone made my chest tighten. I thought of my father's last note, of all the years I'd spent grieving a man who wasn't really gone. I slid the flash drive into a nearby laptop. The screen flickered. A video file appeared, timestamped 2 days before his supposed death. My father's face filled the screen, older, tired, but unmistakably him. "Maddie," he began, voice trembling, "if you're seeing this, it means they found you. You deserve to know the truth." He took a deep breath. "You weren't adopted in the usual sense. You were part of a classified project, one meant to protect the families of people who exposed corruption inside the government's private sector. We thought it was the only way to keep you safe. But now, they've turned the system against us." The video crackled, cutting in and out, but his last words were clear. "Trust Ethan, and when the time comes, don't run, fight." The screen went black. I sat there frozen, a lifetime of lies condensed into a few minutes of footage. I wanted to cry, to scream, to ask 1,000 questions, but all I could do was whisper. He knew this day would come. Ethan placed a hand on my shoulder. "Your father was one of the few people brave enough to leak their data experiments. He saved hundreds of lives by destroying their files. You were hidden because you were the only link left to him and to the data they never recovered." I turned to him slowly. "So what do they want from me?" "Access," he said simply. "Your father used your DNA as an encryption key. Without you, they can't unlock what he hid." The words sank in like ice water. My father had turned me into a living password. Outside, the wind howled through the trees. Every creak of the cabin felt louder now, like the walls themselves were listening. I paced the floor, trying to breathe, but the questions kept coming faster than the answers. "So what happens now? Do I just keep running?" Ethan looked toward the window, jaw tightening. "You can run for a while, but eventually they'll catch up, unless you finish what your father started." He walked over to the table and opened a drawer, pulling out a small metal device, no larger than a phone. "This is the core. It's the one piece of data your father never managed to destroy. It's encrypted under your code." I stared at it. A plain, ordinary-looking object. Yet somehow it felt heavier than anything I'd ever held. "What's inside?" I asked. "The truth," he said, "and the names of everyone responsible for the program that killed your father." For a long moment I said nothing. Just the sound of the rain hitting the windows, soft and steady like it had that night on my porch. I thought about all those years I'd spent blaming fate for his death, never knowing he was alive, fighting to keep me safe. And suddenly, grief turned into something sharper, something almost electric. "Then let's finish it," I said. "Let's end what they started." Ethan gave a faint, approving smile. "I hoped you'd say that." We spent hours decoding the fragments my father had left behind. Each file opened a new door, government contracts disguised as energy deals, names of officials, trails of money that led to private companies. Every line of code was another piece of the puzzle, another ghost from my father's world. By midnight, the laptop screen showed a single blinking message. Authorization required, DNA verification needed. Ethan handed me a small scanner. "You ready?" I nodded. The moment my fingerprint touched the sensor, the room seemed to hold its breath. The lights flickered. Then the screen filled with a map, dozens of red dots scattered across the country. Hidden facilities all linked to one name. At the center of it all, AURELAA Project. Ethan stared at it. "He found it," he whispered. "He actually found it." Before I could ask what that meant, a soft beeping sound interrupted us. Not from the computer, from outside. A motion sensor. Ethan's head snapped toward the window. "They found us," he said. My pulse raced. "How? You said this place was off-grid." "It was," he muttered, grabbing a duffel bag from under the table. "Until we accessed the drive." He moved quickly, shoving papers and devices inside the bag. "Take this," he said, handing me the flash drive. "No matter what happens, don't let it fall into their hands." "Ethan, what about you?" He looked at me with a strange calmness, the kind that only comes when you've accepted something inevitable. "I'll hold them off long enough for you to get away. There's a service road behind the cabin. It leads to the main highway." "No," I said firmly. "You're coming with me." He hesitated, then smiled faintly. "You sound like your father." The next second the lights went out. Total darkness. Only the sound of rain and footsteps approaching outside. Ethan grabbed my arm and guided me toward the back door. "Go, Madison, now!" I wanted to argue, but something in his voice, steady, certain, made me move. I clutched the drive and ran into the storm. The trees blurred past as thunder cracked overhead. Somewhere behind me I heard shouting, then silence. I didn't look back. The road stretched ahead like a river of shadows, and for the first time in my life, I had no destination, just purpose. The kind my father had died for. By dawn, I reached an abandoned gas station miles from the highway. My clothes were soaked, my hair tangled, my hands trembling. I plugged the flash drive into a public terminal, heart pounding. The screen blinked once, then displayed a single message in my father's handwriting. "If you made it this far, you're stronger than I ever was. The world will try to silence you, but truth doesn't die. It waits." A small upload bar appeared beneath the text. 1%, 2%, 10. By the time the sun broke through the clouds, it was done. The files were sent to every major media outlet in the country. Every name, every document, every lie. I stepped outside and watched the horizon turn gold. Somewhere behind me, the world I knew was burning, but I felt no fear, just clarity. My father's secret had become my purpose. His silence had turned into my voice. And as I walked down that empty road, the rain finally stopped. It wasn't the end of my life. It was the beginning of the real one.